Alex, I walked into the shop this morning and the smell of cedar hit me so hard, I almost forgot I had a mortgage. There's something about that first 5 minutes before you turn any machines on, just the quiet and the potential of a fresh stack of lumber.
Is that the zen before the inevitable storm of you realizing you measured the rabbit joint on the wrong side?
Listen, that only happened, well, it happened Tuesday. But today's a fresh start. It's Monday, April 20th, and we are back in the TigerDen. We've got a lot of ground to cover today. Automated welders that have more brain power than I do, money for tools if you're into pipes and wires, and a soap company that basically printed money by talking to their neighbors.
I'm still stuck on the robotic welders. Are we talking Terminator with a TIG torch or something a little more practical?
It's getting eerie, honestly. Cirrus Automation just updated their HF pre-weld system. Now, back when I started, pre-weld inspection meant squinting at a seam through a greasy lens and hoping my hands were steady enough to bridge the gap.
And now?
Now the machines are doing the squinting for us. These new algorithms can spot a microscopic misalignment in a pipe seam before the arc even strikes. It's like having a shop foreman with bionic eyes watching every millimeter of the bead. For the guys doing high-stakes tube and pipe work, this is the difference between a perfect run and 100 feet of expensive scrap metal.
I saw a headline about South Korea using humanoid bots in shipyards. That feels like a massive leap from a steady arm on a track to a metallic person walking through a hull.
It's the frontier, Alex. Shipyards are miserable places for humans, cramped, hot, and full of fumes. These bipedal bots are stepping into the spots where a person has to double over to reach a joint. It's not about kicking the welders out of the yard. It's about not making a guy crawl into a steel coffin to lay a bead. It's augmentation. It's letting the human be the conductor while the bot does the heavy lifting.
Just as long as they don't start critiquing your weld aesthetics, Tiger. Query: why is your bead so lumpy, Dave?
If a robot starts giving me notes on my stacking of dimes, I'm pulling its plug. Speaking of metal, though, keep an eye on basic metals. They're adding about 42,000 square feet to their footprint.
That sounds like a lot of aluminum.
It's a mountain of it. For us small shop folks, when the big suppliers expand, it usually takes the frantic edge off the supply chain. We might actually see carbon and stainless prices stop jumping around like a caffeinated kangaroo by next year.
Speaking of the price of things, can we talk about the cost of just getting started? I was looking at that Bring Back the Trades grant you mentioned.
This is the news I wish I had 20 years ago. They're doing national grants now, up to $1,500 a month, specifically for tools.
1,500 is a lot of screwdrivers.
It's a high-end multimeter and a set of professional pipe wrenches that won't round off every bolt you touch. If you're a plumber or an electrician starting out, that first buy-in for your kit can feel like trying to climb a greased pole. This grant is basically a ladder.
It feels like there's a real push for specialized training lately, too. Train just opened that new Advanced Technology Center. Is the old school apprenticeship dying out, or is it just evolving?
It's evolving. You can't just wing it with modern HVAC systems anymore. They're basically computers that happen to move air. These centers are like playgrounds for technicians. You get to break their expensive equipment instead of breaking a customer's furnace in the middle of January. If you want to move from guy with a wrench to specialist who commands the big invoices, you have to go through those manufacturer centers.
So we've got robots welding and apprentices getting free tools. But what about the people listening who want to be their own boss? You saw that $92 million goat soap story, didn't you?
Beekman 1802. It's one of those stories that makes you want to sell everything and buy a farm until you remember that goats are essentially toddlers with horns.
$92 million, Tiger? From soap? How?
They didn't sell soap. Well, they did, but that's not what people bought. They sold the neighbor philosophy. They invited people into the story of the farm. Most makers think the business part is just making a thing and putting a price tag on it. But these guys realize that people don't buy what you make. They buy why you bothered to make it in the first place.
You're getting poetic on me. Are you saying I need a philosophy for the birdhouse I built last weekend?
Maybe not for one birdhouse. No, if you're trying to scale, absolutely. Shopify put out some data for 2026 that's a cold bucket of water for a lot of makers. They're saying, stop making 100 of something before you know if anyone actually wants one.
Validate demand. Sounds very corporate.
It's simpler than it sounds. It means instead of spending 2 weeks in the shop building a fleet of custom cutting boards, spend 2 hours on social media or a low-cost ad to see if anyone even clicks. It's about not burying your capital in inventory that's actually just firewood nobody asked for.
And the tax thing? You always mention the separate account.
Because I learned that one the hard way. There's no feeling quite as hollow as having a profitable year and then realizing you spent the government's portion of the profits on a new Laguna bandsaw. Open the second account the same day you sell your first item. Trust me, it keeps the business from feeling like a trap.
All right, let's get into the dirt, or the sawdust. What's on the to-do list for the listeners this weekend?
If you're looking to get your shop organized, there's a list floating around from Maker Channel, 60 tools every woodworker needs. Now look, you don't need 60. Nobody needs 60. But things like digital angle gauges, they're an absolute game changer. Gone are the days of holding a plastic square up to a blade and eyeballing 90 degrees while praying to the carpentry gods.
I saw the cabinet humidor project on the list too. That looks intense.
That's the masterclass project. A humidor is a psychological battle with physics. You're building a box that has to stay at a specific humidity while the world outside the box is trying to warp the wood. It's all about the Spanish cedar lining and the precision of the seal. If you can build a humidor that holds its clink when you shut the lid, you can build just about anything.
For the rest of us who aren't quite ready for a humidity-controlled masterpiece, what's the weekend warrior play?
The built-in desk. It's the highest ROI project you can do. You're basically taking a dead corner of a room and turning it into a workspace. You don't need a huge budget. Just some decent plywood, some 2x4 framing hidden behind a nice face frame, and a solid top. It adds real value to the house, and it's a lot more satisfying than buying a flat-pack desk that wobbles every time you type.
Does yours wobble?
My desk is built out of reclaimed 4x4s. You could park a truck on it.
We've covered a lot today. Technology that's changing how we weld, grants that are helping people start careers, and the marketing secret of just being a good neighbor. What's the one thing you want people to take into the shop with them this week?
You know, we talk about the $92 million companies and the high-tech robots, but it all starts with one decision. The decision to be a little better than you were yesterday, whether that's learning to use a new multimeter or finally setting up that business bank account. My dad used to say that the tool doesn't make the craftsman, but the craftsman's respect for the tool defines the work. Don't wait for the perfect setup or the biggest grand. Just start where you are. Use the tools you have, even if they're hand-me-downs. The skill stays with you long after the tool wears out.
That's a good note to end on. Although, if someone wants to give me $1,500 for tools, I'm still taking it.
Oh, absolutely. Take the money, buy the good wrenches, and then go make something that lasts.
Thanks for joining us in the den today. We'll see you next time.
Keep the sawdust flying and the sparks moving. Take care.